Welcome to the Travel Story Channel. I have a claim that might just flip everything you know about global trade history completely upside down.
Everything you believe about globalization, the way goods, ideas, and services flow across borders, how supply chains are set up, and even the current East-West trade rivalry, all of it actually traces back to a place you've never even heard of. The forgotten Yunnan Silk Road. Most people are familiar with the Northern Silk Route, where camels trudge solemnly across the Gobi Desert. But we're talking about an underground, secret network. One that cut through treacherous gorges and got eclipsed by history. This wasn't just some side trail. It was the silent architect of the Asian economy. And what's the proof? Flashback to 138 BC. This southern route was already moving compressed. Per T, from Yunnan to the Western empires, even before the famous Northern Silk Route had reached its peak. It wasn't just transporting silk or tea. It moved silver, spices, and, most importantly, a model for multicultural cooperation. Now, here's the million-dollar question. How is an ancient, overlooked trade route, built on the backs of pack horses, quietly reshaping global trade wars and multi-billion-dollar infrastructure projects right now? It holds a secret about economic strategy that we absolutely need to uncover. We're going to dive deep into those mysteries. But before we start this journey where history meets modern commerce, what do you think is the most important ancient trade route in the world? Let me know in the comments below. And do UNT forget to hit that subscribe button right now so you do UNT miss any of the history stories that could totally change the way you see the world. Let's get started. The secret of Yunnan is waiting. When you mention the Silk Road, the image that pops into your head is those resilient caravans battling the scorching sun of the desert. But the Yunnan Silk Road was an entirely different beast. Imagine this. Instead of dry sand and wind, you have thick, clinging fog, abyssal gorges, and the roaring sound of rushing water mixed with the humid breath of the ancient forest. We're not talking about a single road. We're talking about an underground network. This southern route was the ultimate logistical challenge. This was a place where a single misstep meant goods and lives could vanish forever. The sheer topographical brutality from the 2,000-meter-plus altitudes of the Yunnan Geijo plateaued down to tropical valleys created an agonizing transportation puzzle. While the northern route prioritized speed and sheer volume, the Yunnan route gambled on perseverance and quality of goods. Look at places like the town of Lijiang, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which served as a critical nexus point. It wasn't just a rest stop. It was a conversion hub. Here, people had to learn how to preserve goods in high humidity, totally different challenge from the arid desert. The carriers developed ingenious packaging techniques, transforming green tea into compressed pure tea bricks, solid, moisture-resistant bricks that actually grew in value the longer they were aged. This geographical severity is precisely what forced these merchants to innovate. It forged a spirit of resilience, an ingrained resourcefulness that you can see running through the veins of Asian entrepreneurs even today. They didn't just overcome the challenges, they engineered an entirely new economic system. And that very severity created a specific, exceptional commodity that no other Silk Road route possessed. It was an item powerful enough to change the military history of the entire region. What was that item? And why was it valued more highly than even silk and silver? If you thought silk was the most important commodity on the Silk Road in Yunnan, that view is completely flipped. Here, the critical exchange was between tea and horses. This wasn't an exchange of mere luxury items. It was a strategy for survival. Just look at the route's nature. It was known as the Tea Horse Road, Cha Ma Gu Tao, not the Silk Road. Horses were the essential mode of transport. But for the Chinese dynasties, horses were also the military might against the nomadic tribes of the north. The horses from Yunnan and Tibet were renowned for their endurance and their ability to handle the rugged terrain. In return, pura tea, compressed into those solid, stable cakes, became an indispensable necessity for the Tibetan people and neighboring regions, helping to balance their diets, which were critically low on vegetables. Compressed pur, as we mentioned, wasn't just a beverage. It was literally edible currencia, paperless trade contract that was often trusted more than copper coins. The stability of the empire depended on supplying this dark gold to secure the necessary war horses. Economic historian Robert B. Marks once noted, for centuries, the tea-horse exchange was one of the most precise and sustainable commodity exchange mechanisms the world has ever seen, because it traded core needs rather than just profit. This is the lesson in economic pragmatism that policymakers are still learning from today. The prosperity built on the backs of these horses created a wealthy and incredibly audacious merchant class. But it was this wealth and the massive silver transactions generated by the tea-horse trade that made Yunnan the target of another commodity, one with a destructive power greater than war itself, one that completely shifted the regional balance of power. What was it? And how did it reshape the ancient Asian financial system? If tea and horses were the heart of the tea-horse road, then silver was its brain. As the wealth from the tea-horse trade soared, Yunnan didn't just remain a logistical route. It quietly became a financial nexus where massive capital flows were coordinated. Silver played the ultimate role in the monetary system of the Ming and Qing dynasties. Yunnan, with its strategic location, became the critical link connecting vital silver supplies from mines in Myanmar and Thailand to the enormous consumption market in China. The silver trade here wasn't just metal exchange. It was the coordination of currency flow between Southeast Asia and East Asia. But here's what made Yunnan truly unique. Alongside silver, the region was also a transit point for exclusive and rare spices. Think of black turmeric, cardamom, or specific therapeutic herbs. These were traded at such high value that they could compete directly with silk, drawing the attention of intercontinental merchants. Transporting them along these dangerous routes created constant tension. The wealth from silver and spices attracted banditry, but market demand ensured the commerce never stopped. We can see this clearly in places like Shaxia, remarkably preserved market town where archaeologists have found evidence of silver being used as a universally accepted international payment medium. This combination of silver as currency and spices as high-profit commodities transformed Yunnan into a sophisticated trade model, a blueprint for how to organize complex, cross-border supply chains. This blend of commerce, finance, and culture created a style of architecture and a way of life that even modern urban planners admire. What exactly fostered that unique, multicultural coexistence? Up until now, we've talked about goods, horses, and currency. But what truly makes Yunnan a historical phenomenon is the people. The Yunnan Silk Road wasn't just a trade route. It was a cultural crucible. It was the convergence point for over 25 different ethnic minority groups from the Baith and Axi to the Yi-longside immigrants and merchants from India, Myanmar, and much further afield. This intermingling teaches us a core lesson about multicultural coexistence in the 21st century. It shows that when economic interest is tempered with respect, cultural differences aren't barriers, they are assets. Merchants had to learn each other's languages, customs, and even religions to ensure smooth transactions. This was organic globalization, driven by necessity and mutual benefit. This blend is best represented in the architecture. Look at the Bai people's houses in Dali. You'll see the traditional curved Han-style roofs. But they're fused with indigenous decorative details and building techniques, creating a unique and harmonious blend. These aren't just dwellings. They are statements of cultural acceptance. Or the traditional markets where the languages, attire, and goods of various ethnic groups coexisted in vibrant, chaotic harmony. Anthropologists view Yunnan as a case study in how societies maintain identity while actively engaging in transnational trade. It shows us that to succeed in commerce, you have to invest in trust and mutual understanding, not just in logistics. But here is the jaw-dropping part. Today, the very same perilous Ancient pathways these merchants traversed are becoming the key to China's largest and most controversial trade ambition of the 21st century. What is happening when history is being rebuilt with concrete and steel? If you thought the stories of tea and horses were over, you'd be mistaken. Today, those very ancient paths are being resurrected in an ambitious, modern version. We are witnessing a phenomenon I call logistics rebirth, where modern engineers are tracing the footsteps of the ancient tea merchants to build massive transportation networks. Yunnan is now playing a central role in China's Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, a trillion-dollar infrastructure project. The region is positioned as the southern gateway, connecting China to Southeast Asia. With its massive consumer markets and resource pools, modern high-speed railways and expressways are being built parallel to, or even directly on top of, the historical foundations of the Tea-Horse Road. Look at the railway project connecting Kunming, Yunnan to Laos. This project cuts the travel time from days on horseback down to just a few hours by train. In essence, it is a replication and scaling up of the ancient trade model, a rapid, efficient exchange between disparate geographies. Global economic analysts suggest this is a prime example of how Yunnan's ancient logistics DNA is being reactivated. This resurgence isn't just about transit, it's giving a massive boost to the local economy. Traditional handicrafts, those exclusive spices, and pu'er tea itself are finding new, more global markets thanks to the improved transportation network. It proves that historical legacy doesn't have to be a static museum piece. It can be a dynamic platform for development. However, this excavation of commercial history is raising a major ethical question. How do we balance the supersonic development of the 21st century with the preservation of an invaluable heritage? Are we trading the soul? So far, we've celebrated the revitalization of the Yunnan Silk Road. But any great story has a dark side. And it's vital to acknowledge the risks that come with this lightning-fast development. Bringing this ancient route back onto the world map is creating an internal conflict between development and preservation. A growing number of archaeologists and heritage conservators are expressing serious alarm. They warn that mass tourism and large-scale infrastructure projects could easily obliterate precious historical sites, eroding the unique cultural identity that was forged over millennia. The ethnic minority communities, who were the absolute heart of the Tea-Horse Road, are now facing the risk of being assimilated or being turned into hollow theme parks purely for the consumption of tourists. A leading archaeologist at Yunnan University, Professor Li Kun, once warned, "We can easily turn the Tea-Horse Road into a chain of expensive resorts. But if we do, we lose the soul of the exchange and the courage it represented. It will become just a statue with no heartbeat. We must ensure the historical foundations remain so future generations can learn from it, not just look at it." This is a stark warning. The tension between building the future and honoring the past is palpable. Yet, within that tension, there is also a glimmer of hope. Many local communities are working hard to preserve traditional crafts, dances, and ancient tea-making formulas, turning them into responsible tourism products, thereby earning a living while safeguarding their heritage. Yunnan is standing at a crossroads. It's not just the intersection of tea and horses anymore. It's becoming the intersection of technology and heritage. The final question is this. Yunnan's role doesn't stop in Asia. It holds a key to the global trade game that you and I feel every single day.
Finally, we have to place Yunnan within the context of modern trade wars and geopolitics. Why would an ancient route be relevant to discussions happening in Washington, London, or Canberra? Because Yunnan is the strategic pivot point for Asia's economic expansion. As we've analyzed, Yunnan is central to the Belt and Road Initiative BRI in the Southeast Asian region. This route is more than just moving goods. It's a multi-dimensional economic corridor. It allows Chinese goods to access key seaports in Thailand and Myanmar, opening up alternative trade arteries to the traditional maritime route through the Malacca Strait. This has profound implications for reshaping global supply chains, affecting commodity prices, inflation, and the stability of consumer markets in the US, Australia, or Europe. The cross-border trade agreements today between Yunnan and its neighbors like Vietnam, Laos, and Myanmar are not brand-new inventions, but they are a much faster, larger-scale copy of the tea and horse exchange model from millennia ago, exchanging core needs for stability and market access. Today, Yunnan isn't just trading tea and silver, it is trading technology for resources. This region has become a real-world laboratory for globalization, where ancient trade models are being stress-tested all over again. This unique position ensures that Yunnan will continue to be a key player, whether in trade tensions or cross-border cooperation. Now, we have all the pieces of the puzzle. It's time to circle back to our very first question.
So, finally, what is the secret behind the Yunnan Silk Road reshaping modern trade wars? The answer lies in the blueprint. This route taught the world that true commerce isn't just about exchanging luxury goods. It's about exchanging core necessities to force us and the acceptance, even the celebration of cultural diversity. This model, where trust and cultural understanding were the currency, is being replicated and scaled up in the biggest partnership agreements of the 21st century. The Yunnan Silk Road leaves us with a critical life metaphor. The paths least traveled are often the ones with the deepest impact. Sometimes, the most vital solutions to our current problems lie hidden in the forgotten corners of history. The real question now is, can Yunnan successfully balance the lightning-speed development of the Belt and Road Initiative with the preservation of its unique heritage? Or will $21 century ambition swallow the soul of its history? I want to hear from you. What traces of the tea-horse exchange? Spirits changing core needs and mutual respect do you see in your own life or in your daily business? Comment below and share your perspective. If you love this story, don't forget to like and share so we can continue bringing you these forgotten historical perspectives. See you in the next video.